Greetings and salutations. Welcome to this episode of Playwright Spotlight. Before we begin, smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, leave a comment down below, and share the show with a friend. If you're listening to us on your favorite podcast platform, be sure to leave a 5-star review and subscribe to the channel. My guest today is a producer, director, and playwright born in St. Petersburg, Russia. She co-wrote the musical based on Alexander Pushkin's masterpiece, The Queen of Spades. Her musical thriller, Blackbeard's Castle, what she wrote and directed, opens November 1st through November 23rd at the Odyssey Theater in Los Angeles with a special event preview set for Halloween on October 31st. Not that you need to tell me what Halloween is. But ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, please welcome Sofia Streisand.
Hi.
Thanks for coming on this episode of Playwright Spotlight.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. My pleasure. So, we'll just get down to brass tactics. What is the difference that you've seen in between theater in Russia and theater in America?
I will gladly talk about that. I will want to add one little thing before we dive into that. As you can hear by my accent, English is not my native language, so I don't think I'll be able to speak with your speed.
That's okay. I speak fast, and I get a lot of flack for it, so don't you worry about that. It'll probably give us a nice balance.
Well, I was hoping that maybe later on you could add 1.5 speed to my answers, but as I understand, you don't edit your episodes, so I just wanted to, prepare you for some slow talking and vocabulary search.
Absolutely. I'll do my best to assist.
Thank you. So yeah, American theater and Russian theater. I have also worked quite a lot in Eastern Europe, Western Europe. So I have lots of different theater companies to compare. And obviously, there are lots of things. And the first thing, of course, would be unions.
Okay.
So in America, unions are a huge deal. All stage managers, actors, they all have their rules, certain break times, certain things you can't do, certain things you can't ask actors to do. And I'm not talking about something dangerous or
Sure.
anything like that, but still all these things that are very important to protect the actors. And I'm very happy that they're there, because I have also worked in situations where you would want some restrictions in place, because certain producers can abuse their stuff, actors, directors, and it's really nice when there's an entity protecting people who don't necessarily have a voice.
Okay. But you at the same time, there's also like a pretty strict tradition, I would say, in European theater and Russian theater.
So yeah, obviously more rules are in place in European theater. Almost no rules are in place in Russia.
Okay.
Meaning, even if you know there are rules, there are really no rules that you can't break. That's dangerous on one hand, but it's also very liberating on the other hand, because if you have good people, if you have a good team, and everybody understands that something happened, a force majeure, and everybody wants to fix it, and everybody's happy to stay an extra hour or do something else, there's really nothing that would stop you. You would just say, hey guys, we need to continue doing it. And everybody would be like, yes, absolutely, we want to get this done, we want to get this right.
Sure, yeah, right.
So there's no perfect situation. It's like with politics.
Sure.
There's no system that's perfect, and you're just trying to find the right balance between liberty and security.
When did playwriting come into your, I don't want to say your world, but your portfolio, I guess, for lack of a better word?
Good word. Actually, quite recently. So my main field of expertise, I would say, well, at least based on my education, is musical theater directing.
Okay.
That's what I always wanted to do. That's what I studied extensively. That's what I interned with on. That's really what I've been doing for most of my professional life. And then, as I was directing new plays and new musicals, I realized that very often there were certain things that playwrights who just did that, who had no experience with working with actors, who had little experience with production, they had wonderful language, but they really didn't see problems that would arise when you actually mount this thing on stage. Right. It's so different to have a play as a text, and you're reading it and you're loving it. But then when you're staging it, you have all kinds of problems because a lot of playwrights just don't see it. They only hear it. They only hear the text.
Can you unpack some of those problems?
Sure. I'll give you just one example, but there are lots of examples like that. When playwrights are writing and they have a dialogue between the characters, they're putting everything in words. And when you stage it, you realize words are really superfluous here. They actually get in the way because what you want the actors to do is be active with each other, do things to each other physically. And when they're saying all these lines, this is not necessary. You shouldn't be explaining what you're doing. You shouldn't be explaining what you want to do. You should just do it. And things like that.
Does this go into the old adage, show, don't tell?
Sorry?
Does this go into the old adage, show, don't tell? Okay. All right. What are some of the other ones? And I can always unpack and then I'll try to remember to slow down. So that's unfair. Yeah, because a lot of playwrights they'll tell you what's happening rather than showing you with that. So I'm assuming that's what you mean.
That's one thing. Another thing is that, and really good playwrights don't do that. But a lot of not excellent playwriters have one voice.
Okay.
So their characters are speaking beautifully, but it all sounds like one person's speech because we're obviously all very different. We use different type of vocabulary. We have all kinds of mannerisms when we talk. Some people repeat themselves. Some people have lots of words that should not be in your speech, like and that sort of stuff. So some characters should not be as eloquent as playwrights make them be, if that makes sense.
100%. So how do you approach that then? How do you keep in mind and remind yourself that, this person should sound a little different?
Well, because when I write, I see it. When I write it, I have certain characters, not just characters. Sometimes I have certain actors in mind. I sometimes know exactly who I want to work with. So I know how it will sound with their voice. And that makes me write very specifically for how they would actually say it, rather than just have a general language for all the characters. Apart from that, there's another aspect that not all playwrights consider. Obviously, they are writing out of their imagination, and they can add any details, like they want to write a scene. Oh, it would be great if this scene is taking place during a grand dinner, and plates are being brought on their tables, etc., etc., etc. Well, when you're a producer, you're like, okay, if we have that, then we absolutely have to have tables on stage and chairs and waiters or something like that. While this exact same scene could be happening in a place with less furniture, less production problems, less people. When you're a producer and director and a playwright, it's so easy because you immediately can foresee all kinds of budget problems, technical problems, creative problems when you're mounting the show.
How did you originally start writing in Russian, or did you start your playwriting and writing in English?
I wouldn't say I'm writing in English. I'm co-writing in English in the sense that I'm still very involved with stories. I'm still very involved with what's going on, but I don't consider my English enough to really sort of independently write in English. You know what I'm saying? So I would always ask people, does that sound natural to you? And I would trust others to tell me if this is just not what an American person would say. Even if it's grammatically correct. So yes, I have started writing in Russian, and I have first started with, again, co-writing in the sense that I would build the story, the development in sort of big chapters, and then the dialogue itself would be written by somebody else who has more background in playwriting, because I had the imposter syndrome. Okay. I thought I have never really studied writing. I don't think I am a writer. How can I possibly just write dialogue? I'm not good enough. And then what happened was, as I would start rehearsing as a director, I would realize that the dialogue that I have in my head really is better than what I have on the page. And at first I would just substitute something that I came up with, because everybody would agree and the actors would love it. They would say, "Oh my God, can I really say that?" rather than saying what's written. And that was hard, obviously, because every playwright loves their work, and there were ethical questions about that, so I didn't feel the liberty to do whatever I want with the material. So then I just thought, I gotta write my own stuff. I just can't take somebody else's stuff, even if they're okay with that. Mm-hmm. This is just not okay to take somebody else's material that they wrote and say, you know what, I'm gonna rewrite this. So I just started writing my own stuff.
So how did you overcome the imposter syndrome and realize, or was it just getting feedback from the actors and that to trust your own thing, and then you just said, forget it, I'm just going to write what's in my head because I have a better level of confidence? Or were there other things that helped you get over that?
I think if you have this syndrome, because not all people do, it's hard to make it go away completely. So it's always there. There's always, am I good enough question in the back of your mind. But what really helps is, being really busy. So you have this project, you have a deadline, you have the premiere, whether you want it or not, you can't cancel it. So it's happening anyway. You might as well just do what you can and relax. And another thing that helps, of course, is recognition. Okay. It's when you hear from people that you work with, A. B, when you see the audience react to that. And, they create fan clubs of the musicals that you wrote. They write pages and pages of their reviews and what touched them and why and how it made them feel. And you really think, my work is important for someone.
Very nice.
And the third important way to get rid of the imposter syndrome is professional recognition. It's when you get awards and you know that there were lots of people with more experience and more training that competed with you, but for some reason your peers and your colleagues thought your work was better. And then you think, oh, well, I guess it's not that bad.
I bring this up because it just came up, I think, in our last episode with Ankara, and she writes bilingually. She writes in Hindi and in English. Have you ever thought about doing that? And as far as hypothetically, if it's a family dynamic where maybe the parent is a little older and doesn't quite always speak in English. I'm just curious if that's something that you've explored and played with as well.
Not yet. I can absolutely see myself writing something for an American theater market that would potentially have some Russian characters in it. Look at the success of Honora. Lots of Russian language, lots of very natural Russian language, obviously written by Russian people. Maybe the actors improvised. I think we even had somebody confess that a lot of dialogue, especially the Russian dialogue, was improvised. So yeah, I think that would be fun. That could be fun.
So I'm going to rewind a little bit back because I kind of got a little bit, but now I'm not quite sure. Did your playwriting started after you came to the States? Yes. Yes, no, it didn't start in the States. So I was already, I would say I lived part-time in America, part-time in Europe and Russia. Okay.
And that's when I started working on my first sort of independent musical that was written, produced and directed by me, which is The Queen of Spades. And it just happened to be very, very successful. It won multiple national awards, and it's still playing at a very big theater, 1,800 seats, and it sells out almost every time. And it's it gave me a lot of confidence to even call myself a writer. But now I feel much better writing, and lots of new ideas to explore.
I was trying to find exactly how many plays you had under your belt.
Not many. I can tell you exactly how many.
Yeah, please do, because I was trying. I don't know if this one was just directed, or if this one was produced and directed, or if this one was written. Yeah. So I only have 3 plays, and all of them are musical theater plays with different amount of music. I wouldn't call the show that I'm doing right now in Los Angeles a musical. I would call it a musical drama. Okay. So it's really a play with lots of music. And yeah, just 3. That's okay. You got to start somewhere.
Yeah.
Then are these written as traditional musicals, or are they kind of what's the right term I want to use? Here's the point. This is what I'm trying to get at. Are you writing the music as well?
I don't write music. Okay. I don't compose music. I usually have 1 or 2 songwriters that I work with. Okay. And sometimes a composer writes a song or a scene, just music, and I ask the songwriter to write words to that. Or sometimes it's the other way around. We have a very precise idea of what we want a musical number to expose, and I give a text to the songwriter in prose. Okay. And I say, can you write a song about this? Okay. But I do get involved quite a lot, meaning I torture my colleagues to the point when I'm really happy with the text. So I can be like, oh, we need to rewrite that and this verse. And sometimes it does happen that I would be like, oh, you know what, these are the words that would be better. But again, when it's your play, when you have this liberty and your colleague is okay with that, they know that they are just hired to help you with rhyme, so to say.
Sure.
Then you're good.
So how do you find that there's a difference, and then maybe this goes back to what you had answered earlier, do you find that there's a difference collaborating here in the States with crews, or do you, or is it a little bit difficult? And that's why I say you might have already answered it in saying like there's more rule breaking, so it might be easier there than it is here, I don't know.
There are two major things. One is really the legal aspect. It's kind of the same as with unions. There are intellectual property laws and things that you have to be very careful with, just because it's more serious in America.
Right.
In Russia, it's a lot of deal, handshake, and that's it. That's as good as it gets. You either trust each other as partners, co-writers, and so on, or you don't, and really, you almost never sue or bring courts into that. Right. But in America, it's pretty common to be like, oh, I'm going to sue you. That kind of thing is just very common here, and I have a lot of anxiety because I might not know something. I might have the wrong expectations about a professional collaboration, and again, intellectual property rules that apply and so on. That's one thing, sort of legal. And another aspect is similar but different. It's that I actually never want to offend or hurt anyone. And I know that the cultural gap between Eastern Europe or Russia and America is huge. Yeah. If you ever look at Instagram, and there are lots of accounts of influencers and people basically getting thousands and millions of subscribers just by posting jokes and reels and stories about that cultural difference. And it can be really, really funny because, you have just such a huge difference in mentality, in perception, in the way we do small talk, the way and in the things that we think are appropriate to say and you think are outrageous, and so I don't want to offend anyone ever, but sometimes I say something and then immediately I think, did I say something that would be offensive in America? So now
everything's offensive in America.
Now I'm even like so much in my head, it would get to ridiculous level. I would be like, stop myself mid-sentence because can I even use that word? Is that word offensive too? I think it's. I just have to deal with it on my own because it's really me. Maybe I'm projecting a lot of anxiety and it really doesn't make sense.
Maybe. I think that, and I don't know when it happened, but at some point Americans started taking themselves too seriously. That's just my opinion. So.
Well, honestly, on that subject, I think, and again, I say that as an outsider looking at some of the problems in the United States, I think that everyone would be better off choosing not to be offended when it's ambiguous. When you think, oh, did she just say that? You can choose to be like, oh, it's, she didn't mean that to be offensive. And I think if people really choose not to be offended, this would be helpful to both sides of the aisle on any subject, any matter.
I have a theory, and I've been saying this for probably 30 years, is that people don't know they're offended until somebody tells them they should be. It's like, oh my God, that didn't bother you? Like, no, it didn't bother me. Wow, if I were you, it would have been, well, now that you mentioned, I'm pissed off. So that's true. Yeah.
Well, of course, there are also cases when it's really offensive and it's offensive. And
of course.
Yeah. So I'm just talking about this stuff when you're not sure.
Sure. Now, is this coming into play just like maybe in rehearsals, or do you find that this affects your writing? And that's like, oh, I don't know if I can write this because it might affect.
It certainly affects my writing, and I'm very curious, very excited to see how this play is taken, because it touches on multiple extremely sensitive issues, violence, abuse, women's rights, complicated dysfunctional relationships. What else? lots of subjects that can be very painful, and I'm curious to see how people take it.
But don't you think that that's the whole purpose of theater? That's why we do it? Because we're supposed to hold a mirror up to society, or just kind of reflect on certain things?
Absolutely. That's what I tell myself. That's what I remind myself every time I think a scene is too much, every time the actors do something and part of me wants to say, oh, that was too extreme. We really don't want that much. And then I think maybe we do want that much, just to move people, to provoke people, because a good provocation is what theater is about.
What I was going to bring up earlier, and since you kind of just touched on it as well, when you say you're writing for your actors, or you might be writing for a particular actor, now are you borrowing things from them behaviorally, like some of those mannerisms, or do you just know that those mannerisms are going to make it in, or do you use phrases that they might use in their exchanges? Like, I know that Paul likes to say this phrase multiple times. Like right now, I guess people, I don't catch it, but somebody like at work was like, well, to tell the truth, and I guess I say that a lot lately, or to be truthful or something like that. I don't know. Anyway, so do you kind of borrow from those actors and insert it in the
all of the above, absolutely. I wouldn't say I borrow a lot of lines.
Sure.
But I adjust the lines, and sometimes I would just even tell the actor, whatever, Paul, how you say da-da-da-da-dam, can you say this line, but just the exact way you say da-da-da-da-dam every single time? And they know what I mean, because it's interesting to play with your own nature. Sure.
So is that playing more with cadence than their actual... you're playing with more of their rhythms, or do you like really...
Yeah, rhythms, sort of their personalities, because how we speak is part of our personalities. It's a diagnosis, in a way.
Yeah.
A person is talking, you can diagnose them with something.
Fair enough. So when you start out to write, what are you just coming up with the premise, or where do your ideas start?
My writing is usually specific because it's for musical theater. So
right.
Very often I would envision an idea that's already united or already married to some musical idea.
Okay.
And then the way I see any musical play is I see certain strong musical numbers that are like, in construction there are walls that you can't move. Mm-hmm. I think they're called like weight-bearing walls.
Weight-bearing and foundational, yeah.
Something like that. So complex musical numbers are like that. You envision them, and then there will be like this amazing aria where he rips his shirt off and he's like and in the end he dies. So you have that in mind. You know how it's gonna look like, and that's your weight-bearing wall, and you have a number of those in each act, and you spend a lot of time writing those, and I write those first because they are the ones that will be the most impactful ones. They are the ones that the audience will relate to, that will affect the audience most. And they usually take the most time to write because you need several drafts by composer, you need several drafts by the songwriter. And then when I have that, I can work around those numbers and insert scenes, dialogue, get rid of it, even in rehearsal process. So apart from those weight-bearing walls, the other walls are really movable even in rehearsal process.
Okay.
So sometimes I would start rehearsing with certain scenes being very vague. So that's my process.
So you're continually writing during the rehearsal process?
Yes, and sometimes, very often, I would say very often, the best ideas are born in rehearsal room. Because when you're writing alone or even with a co-writer, it's just, two heads in a room with a desk, your laptop or your computer. There's really not much feedback, energy, if you will, that is inspirational. On the other hand, when you're rehearsing, just the amount of people that are involved in that process makes it that much more charged with different ideas, talent, and consequently, it's still your head that comes up with these ideas. It's not like I bring blank pages to the rehearsal room and I tell the actors, you know what, you improvise and I'll write down what you're saying. That's not how it works. It's 99% of what you're writing and maybe 1% of their improvisation that will later on keep in the show. But just working on it with somebody else gives me inspiration. That's how I would put it.
Well, you came from rehearsal today to come do this interview. Were there in today's rehearsal? I'm just curious. Were there changes that were made, that were implemented, that you guys played with, considering you open next week?
Today, it just happened so that we were really focused on lighting. So it was a cue to cue. Check light process. So not today, but I'm very open to changing the lines as long as I think it's a good idea and as long as the actor is comfortable enough, because some actors are very easy, in the middle of the run, something happens, and then I say, oh, that improvisation that you did on stage because you forgot your line was amazing. Let's keep it. From now on, scratch what we had, do what you did.
Okay.
And some actors are like, yeah, anytime, let's change some lines. And other actors are very committed to learning their material ahead of time, and they get really frustrated with you if you're like, oh, I'd like to change a few words. Seriously? 2 days before the premiere?
So is this the world premiere or no?
This is the world premiere in English.
Oh, okay. Okay, because I noticed it said U.S. premiere or American premiere.
Yeah.
So where did it play before here?
It played in Russia, then Serbia, then Montenegro, then France, and now it's going to be performed in Los Angeles.
And what language were all of those in?
Those plays were in Russian, for Russian audience in different countries, because there's a lot of people.
Sure.
That speak Russian.
Did anything change from that translation to the English translation? And I don't just mean like word-wise. I mean, did it want it because, look, there's not a word in,
Yeah, it actually changes. First of all, it changes from show to show. The same cast, the same theater, the same thing. It's a live show. It's extremely heightened emotions.
All right.
It's a very, very, very dramatic, if not to say traumatizing show. And actors just deal with it slightly differently depending on how they feel that day. And of course, I had multiple casts every time I did the show. Actually, this is the first time I'm doing it with one cast, and it has its own pros and cons. Mm-hmm. So every new actor brings something to the show. And it's slightly different because they all have different physicality, rhythm, mannerisms. So the story changes ever so slightly. And then, of course, now bringing it to America, I rewrote some of the scenes because of the cultural gap.
Sure.
And also because when you were introducing me in the show, I think you actually said Blackbeard.
Oh, I might have. I'm so sorry.
That's
it is
okay.
Bluebeard.
No. So Blackbeard is a famous pirate.
Yes.
And he's more well known to American audience than the Bluebeard, because the Bluebeard is a character of a very old medieval French fairy tale. Now, in Western Europe and Eastern Europe, the Bluebeard's fairy tale is as well known as Cinderella or Sleeping Beauty or Little Red Riding Hood or whatever your most popular fairy tales in America are. So when people come to see the show, they already have certain expectations. They, of course, know the plot. It's like you're going to see a new production of Cinderella. You know vaguely what's going to happen with the ball, and that midnight is going to be involved, and that somebody's going to lose a shoe, etc. So when audience comes to see this musical, I play with the fact that they have certain expectations, and I enjoy surprising the audience when they think, oh, now this is what's going to happen, and I'm like, nope, wrong. So it's kind of a pity not to have those expectations to break them.
Right.
For that reason, I'm also rewriting just little bits here and there. And then the space is another huge aspect of why you do what. We've done this show in traditional theater settings with the black box, and we've done it in like underground bars that are very atmospheric and feel almost like an immersive theater piece. And Odyssey is something in between. The audience is really, really close to the actors, and actors will actually engage with audience a little bit. So I think it will be really fun, and I'm really excited. I can't wait to see the real show, because the show is born only when you have the audience.
Right.
You don't know. You have no idea how it's going to work without a hall full of people.
So I want to go back into what we talked about, because I would imagine, because you talked about rhythms with actors, and I would imagine that going from Russian to English, that you had to have run into some rhythm changes.
In general, English is shorter than Russian, because your words tend to be monosyllabic, right? Most of your words, if you think about it, are either one syllable or two syllables. And Russian is the opposite. Not a lot of words are monosyllabic. You have lots of words that have two syllables, three syllables, and so on. So every time when you see, for example, text, it will be, this much for English and that much for Russian. That's compensated by the fact that we have larger space here. So territory-wise, we have more steps to make. It takes a little more time to do things than in previous productions. So it actually, worked out nicely that English is faster in that way.
So are you saying that you space the delivery out through with action because you're not in tighter quarters and you have more room to play to where?
Yeah, a little bit, yeah.
Okay, I just want to make sure I understand that. Okay. What is when you get through a draft that you're happy with, like you've gone through many passages, you've made some edits, what's the next step that you do after you're done writing by yourself?
I start working with the actors. I cast the show. Again, the thing is, I have a privilege to because I'm the producer as well.
Right.
I have the privilege to cast the show, rehearse, put it on hold, rewrite something, get back to the rehearsal room. And I understand that, of course, playwrights usually don't have that freedom. They deliver their play, they're done, their work is done. Then it's the director and the producer who are like doing their thing, and they might come back to the playwright and say, look, it's too long, or look, we had a brilliant idea, can you write another scene for these two actors, blah, blah, blah. So for me, it's all easy because I just wear different hats, but it's still me. So anytime I can put another hat and say, you know what, we're getting rid of this scene altogether.
So you don't do like a table read or anything just to kind of hear it? You automatically just say, okay, I'm ready?
Yes, I do. I do a table read. For me, table read is an inevitable state of the rehearsal process. So when I say we start rehearsing, of course, we start with a table read, absolutely. Did you mean to say, would I need to hear it read to lock it?
Yes. I mean, maybe table read's not the correct phrase. Where it's just like, hey, I'm going to have some people over. I wrote a new play. Come on over. We're going to have some pizza, and
I used to need that. Now I would say that I don't need that anymore.
Okay. What changed?
It sound experience. I have it in my head. I see the line. I know exactly how it could be delivered automatically. So not reading, no. It does change when you see it play out with action. That's something that's hard to envision, especially if you have multiple characters in a scene. You're writing a complicated scene. There are like 6-8 characters that are involved and they're all doing something. It's really hard to imagine all of them at the same time. So it's only when you stage this scene you can be like, yeah, it's this is not working out because he would definitely say something. There's no way in this scene this character wouldn't react to that. Right. You have to see that.
Do you know how many characters you're going to have when you sit down to write? Or it's just like, okay, I know it's these two, or I know that's these three because I need to get to this point. These are part of my pillars or in weighted walls.
It's, again, because I produce my own plays, sometimes I have a very specific situation. For example, I have a theater group in Serbia.
Okay.
And it's a very small theater group. And it happens so that we only have 2 men. And all other characters, all other potential material to work with are girls. So that dictates what I'll be writing, how I'll be writing for them. So the same thing. I have a production mentality. Yeah, exactly, mentality. So that limits me as the writer, or it doesn't if the situation is good enough.
So with all the other productions you had that were in the other countries before you came to the U.S. premiere for this, did you self-produce all of those as well, or and then if not, how did you get the word out, or how did you promote it to where other people would be taking it on and be interested?
So I started as a freelance director, and my first several works were in opera genre. I started as an opera theater director, and that's a whole other animal. And then people started being interested in musical in Russia. It was very new. It was foreign. Nobody really knew how to stage musicals in Russia because in the Soviet Union, that wasn't something that was on the table. much because it was an American thing. So anything American was a no-no in the Soviet Union. Right. So we really didn't have the culture of musicals. That was not a popular genre. So in early 2000s, people brought, what was it? Chicago was the first musical they brought to Russia. I don't remember, honestly. And at some point, people started having ambition to do Russian musical. And it was supposed to be just as good as Broadway, but just different. Nobody wanted to imitate Broadway. We wanted our own stories, our own literature. And nobody knew how to work with that. And I, at that point, already had a couple of internships in my bag behind me in New York. And I became the go-to person to do musicals. And that's how I sort of... It's pure luck, honestly. It's because I spoke English. It's because I was exposed to American musical theater. I've seen so much stuff in New York. I worked with people who worked in that genre. So I was just in the right place in the right time. And that's why people wanted to work with me, I guess. And then some of the first shows that I directed, became popular, and then the rest is history. And then I started doing my own shows.
Sure. How was it going from I'm gonna butcher this name, Mikhailsky, Opera House, and then like the State Heritage Museum, and then like coming here to the States? I mean, because it sounds like that was the second largest opera house in St. Petersburg, and then I'm not saying that I'm certainly not implying that you like.
It is true. Yeah, you can imply that absolutely, because you have a career. You start with small productions, low budget, small theaters. Then you do bigger things. Then you're successful. A bigger theater invites you, and then finally you become an important person in some really important theater. And then you do something really grandiose, like the gala. Festive event for the Hermitage Museum, which is the biggest museum in the world. It's bigger than the Louvre. It's 6 buildings.
Wow.
And it's something really huge. It's like in Russia, it's like you directed the Met Gala. Right. So you really feel confident and important. And then you come to the United States and you realize that all your achievements, they don't matter, because people are like, what theater? Where's that? St. Petersburg, Russia? Not interested. Part of the problem is, of course, that I didn't really do enough to fight for a place in America, to really launch my career on that side of the planet, because I thought I would be still doing lots of projects in Russia and Europe. But things change. For many reasons, I now want to focus on my life in the United States, my life in Los Angeles for this period of my life. And finally, after years of living here part-time, I'm really doing my own show in Los Angeles, and that's already big enough. Though it's not as big as something I've done before, it's huge for my life in America.
Sure.
So it's like a double life.
What was the draw that brought you out here in the first place?
I got married.
Love. There you go. That'll do it.
Love, of course. Things we do for love.
Right. Yeah. Ain't that the truth? How did being in New York affect your writing? What in that experience, and what launched you said that I'm gonna do it? Did you produce in New York as well, or?
No, I haven't done anything independent in New York, and maybe one day I would want to do that because New York is absolutely unique. Again, I've done so many different things, but New York is a whole other planet, I would say. The level of professional expertise and the speed, the energy of that city is something I've never seen anywhere else. The competition, like the idea that you could post a casting call for something very, very specific, like a certain height, I don't know, certain type of face, certain type of voice, certain, I don't know, wrinkles or freckles on the face, and you'll have a line of actors who will all fit that description and will all be pretty amazing. The competition, I feel so bad for actors who want to make it in New York. People from all over the world, especially if you're in musical theater.
Sure, yeah.
People from all over the world come there with the very same dream. And it creates an absolutely unique environment that cannot be replicated anywhere in the world because there's no other place, not even West End, not London, no other place in the world. Maybe it's similar, but again, it's my perspective. I may be wrong. Maybe there's statistics that show that London is even more popular than New York. I don't think so. I think New York is the #1 place for musical theater people in general.
Sure, yeah.
Like, if you're in musical theater, what do you want to do? What's your dream? My dream is do something like Hamilton on Broadway.
Right.
Yeah.
What's your dream now?
Not necessarily that. I'm in a place right now where I want to consciously focus on slowing down.
Okay.
Interestingly, some things were tough in my recent past, and I really want to slow down and just do theater for pleasure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because that's my true love and passion, theater. I would be doing what I do even if that made no money at all. I would pay to do what I do.
Okay.
That's how much I love theater.
When you are switching back and forth between your hats, do you find that any of them get in the way?
Oh yeah, God, yes. It's two sides of the same medal. Sometimes it's so convenient that I'm the same person that I don't need to call the producer and ask for something as a director,
right,
because I really know that we need that and it's expensive, but we're gonna do that. And sometimes I hate it because you just cut your own wings with too much. We gotta be pragmatic. We gotta, it has to make sense. I need to know the numbers. And also another thing, and this is especially true for just producers' hat. If you want to be a good producer, your left part of the brain, the one with mathematics, schedules, all that logistics, has to be your mind and personality. And when you're a writer and director, you want to shut this part of your brain off, and you want to work with the other part of the brain. You want to have, visions, ideas, inspiration, nothing to do with numbers and schedules. And I notice that sometimes when I start my morning with producer's routine and I do some business, I get into numbers, I'm impaired as an artist that day. Does it make sense?
Yeah.
And I think it can be scientifically explained, because you're like, you boosted a certain area of your brain,
right.
and then your brain is like, okay, this area is boosted, the other areas are off. We're shutting down. So you're like,
When you, with this one, when we were talking about Bluebeard's Castle, and you started talking about themes and stuff, and there's a lot of different themes that you touched on. Did you set out with these are the themes, or are they just as you continue to write, you're like just making these discoveries?
I set out to write about violence in a romantic relationship. That's probably how I would pinpoint the focus when I started writing that thing. And then certain themes came up on their own, uninvited. You're writing something and then boom, you're like, oh, that's what I should be writing about too as well, because you can't talk about violence in a relationship without this aspect. It's and because it happens so that it's a man and a woman, right. You can't really be talking about the power struggle without talking about the place of a woman, especially when it comes to Middle Ages. You know, Middle Ages were not kind to women's rights.
And did you find that you had conflict, and did you resist or fight against it when those things came up? It's like, no, this is what I'm focusing on this. I can't introduce that right now. Or were you completely open to it? It's like, all right, you just give it to me.
Yeah. Especially for this piece, which is the most complex and most enigmatic piece that I've ever written. Or worked with. At some point, it almost became a need to add layers into that. So trying to talk about multiple things on different levels and throw in some quotes from other things, other pieces, that became a sort of game that I really enjoyed. And it's very pleasant when the quotes that you throw in are recognized by the audience, and when the audience asks you after the show. Sometimes it's one of those rare shows where people would stay after the show because they want to talk about it. And they would wait not only for actors at the stage door, which is not uncommon. We've had some popular actors, especially boys, do the show, and then there's a bunch of young girls waiting for them outside the theater. That's common. But for this piece, sometimes I would be exiting the theater, and there would be something. I'm sorry. Are you the writer of this thing? And I would be like, who told you that? Because usually you have absolutely no attention from the audience. Nobody knows who directed it or who wrote it. They only care about the actors, of course. And then they would be like, oh, why did that in that room, that the thing he said, was it because of this, or is this the Cartman's triangle? Are they doing this, or like, oh, is this meant to be the quote from Bartok's opera? And you're like, oh, that's so nice that you noticed it. It's really it's a nice game.
That's awesome. What are you, obviously, Bluebeard's Castle, what are you working on right now, writing-wise?
So I'm working on a play that probably will have some music in it as well, just because I love music as a tool. I think there's nothing like music that connects with people regardless of language, regardless of culture and background. It's just, it makes you feel certain things. So probably, again, play with music. that is based on the scandalous liaison dangereuse, dangerous liaisons.
Oh, yeah.
There are several plays already in the world. There was one that premiered in London that was so successful that they later on used for a movie script with Malkovich, Glenn
John
Close,
Malkovich, Keanu Reeves,
yeah, that's the one. And I think it won multiple Oscars and things like that. It's a great film. I love it. And I have my own interpretation of the story, and that's what I'm working on right now.
Are you on the socials?
I'm not.
Good for you. I get that a lot lately. A lot of playwrights haven't been on there.
Yeah.
And then finally, where can people find your work? Besides at the Odyssey Theater, November 1st to November 23rd in Los Angeles, where else can people find your work?
I'm doing a show in Serbia in November, and then I'm working in Paris on a Russian opera called Eugene Onegin, and then I have some other projects abroad. So this is really the only thing I'm doing in LA, so don't miss it. Don't miss it for multiple reasons. It's a really interesting show. There's nothing like that in LA. There absolutely must be something like that in New York because there's everything in New York.
Right.
But in LA, I don't think so. It's a musical. They will sing, but it's not a haha musical. It's not a dancey musical. It's a really, really profound, painful, exciting, thrilling thing, and it's really interesting.
All right. Make sure you guys go see it. All right, November 23rd. And don't forget about the special event on Halloween. Sofia Streisand, thank you for coming on to this episode of Playwright Spotlight.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you for tuning into this episode of Playwright Spotlight. Again, smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, leave a comment down below, and share this show with your friends. If you're listening to us on your favorite podcast platform, be sure to leave a 5-star review and subscribe to the channel. And in the meantime, and until we see each other again, keep writing.